When 22-year-old Danny Thompson walked onto the America's Got Talent stage, most people in that theater thought they knew what to expect. They saw the distinctive facial features of Down syndrome, heard the slower speech patterns, noticed the gentle simplicity that society often associates with intellectual disability. What they didn't expect was to witness one of the most technically brilliant and joyfully executed dance performances in AGT history. Simon Cowell thought he was about to see another inspirational story of someone overcoming their challenges. He had no idea he was about to have every assumption about Down syndrome completely shattered by a young man who didn't see disability. He only saw possibility. When Danny began to dance, when his body moved with professional precision and pure artistry, Simon Cowell realized he wasn't watching someone overcome their condition. He was watching someone whose condition had never been a limitation in the first place. This wasn't about inspiration or overcoming obstacles. This was about recognizing exceptional talent that happened to exist in someone society had underestimated from the moment he was born. Let me take you back to the moments before Danny Thompson proved that Down syndrome doesn't define limits, it defines a different kind of extraordinary. It was Friday evening at the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles, and America's Got Talent was in the middle of what would become its most stereotype-shattering season yet. The familiar energy buzzed through the venue. 3,400 audience members filling the red velvet seats, many of them from Down syndrome advocacy groups and special needs communities who had heard about Danny's audition through social media and disability networks. Simon Cowell sat at the judges' table in his signature black t-shirt and perfectly tailored blazer, but tonight his expression carried more curiosity than usual. The producers had briefed him about this particular contestant, mentioning his Down syndrome, but emphasizing that his talent spoke for itself. Though Simon wasn't entirely sure what to expect from someone with an intellectual disability performing on a professional stage. Sofia Vergara was unusually quiet, having been moved during the pre-show briefing about Danny's journey and his determination to show the world that people with Down syndrome could achieve anything they set their minds to. Heidi Klum and Howie Mandel were both intrigued and supportive, understanding that they were about to witness something that could challenge public perceptions about disability and talent. Terry Crews had spent extra time preparing for this introduction, knowing that his words needed to create an atmosphere of respect and anticipation rather than pity or low expectations. The evening had already been remarkable, but everyone involved in the production understood that what was about to happen would be important beyond entertainment. This was about representation, about challenging assumptions, about proving that talent exists in every form. Backstage, Danny Thompson stood in the contestant waiting area, but he wasn't nervous like most performers. At 22, he radiated the kind of pure excitement that comes from someone who simply loves what they do. Despite having Down syndrome, Danny possessed an infectious enthusiasm and confidence that immediately put everyone around him at ease. Beside him stood Mary Thompson, his mother and biggest champion, a woman who had spent 22 years advocating for her son's abilities rather than focusing on his disability. "Are you ready to show them what you can do, Danny?" Mary asked, adjusting his bright blue shirt one final time. Danny's face lit up with a smile that could power the entire theater. "Yes, Mom, I'm ready to dance. I love dancing so much." His speech carried the characteristic patterns of Down syndrome, but his enthusiasm was unmistakable and contagious. "And what are you going to show the judges tonight?" "I show them I can dance really, really good. I practice every day. I love music and I love dancing, and I want everyone to see." The journey to this moment had been filled with both challenges and triumphs. Danny had been diagnosed with Down syndrome at birth, and while the doctors had prepared Mary for various developmental delays and intellectual challenges, they hadn't prepared her for the incredible determination and joy her son would bring to everything he attempted. Danny's love for dance had emerged early. By age 5, he was moving to music with natural rhythm and obvious pleasure. By 10, he was taking formal dance classes, though finding instructors willing to work with a child with Down syndrome had been difficult. By 15, he was performing in local theater productions. By 20, he was teaching dance classes to other individuals with disabilities. People see Danny's Down syndrome first, Mary had explained to the AGT producers, but when he dances, when he really moves, they see his talent, they see his joy, they see that Down syndrome doesn't mean limited, it means different, and different can be extraordinary. Danny Thompson called Maria, one of the production assistants, her voice carrying warmth and excitement since everyone on staff had been moved by Danny's rehearsals earlier that day. Danny practically bounced toward the stage entrance, his excitement so pure and infectious that crew members stopped their work just to smile at his enthusiasm. "Remember what we practiced?" Mary called after him. "Just have fun and show them your heart." "I will, Mom. I will dance with my whole heart," Danny replied, his distinctive speech pattern making every word sound like a celebration. Terry Cruz's voice carried across the theater. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Danny Thompson." The curtain rose, and Danny began the walk that would either confirm society's low expectations for people with Down syndrome or completely shatter them. The audience's reaction was immediate and complex. Many people responded with the automatic sympathy often directed toward individuals with disabilities, applauding encouragingly before he had even done anything. But others, particularly those familiar with Down syndrome, leaned forward with genuine curiosity about what Danny would demonstrate. Simon leaned forward, studying Danny with respectful attention. There was something about this young man that commanded notice not through his disability, but through his obvious confidence and joy. "Good evening, Danny," Terry said warmly as Danny reached center stage, practically glowing with excitement. "Good evening," Danny replied, his smile so bright it seemed to light up the theater. "I'm so happy to be here. Tell us your name and where you're from." "My name is Danny Thompson. I am 22 years old, and I live with my mom in Ohio. I have Down syndrome, but I am a really good dancer." The directness and pride with which Danny stated his condition immediately shifted the energy in the room from sympathy to respect. "And how long have you been dancing, Danny?" "I dancing since I was little. I dance every day because I love it so much. Music makes me so happy, and dancing makes my heart feel big." Simon found himself smiling genuinely, drawn in by Danny's authentic enthusiasm and clear passion for his art. "What kind of dancing do you do?" "I do all kinds, hip-hop and jazz and contemporary. I learn by watching and practicing. I practice every day because I want to be the best dancer I can be." "That's wonderful, Danny. Are you nervous about performing for us tonight?" Danny thought about this seriously, then shook his head with conviction. "No, I'm not nervous because I love dancing. When I dance, I feel free and happy. I want to share that with everyone." "All right, Danny," Terry said, stepping back with genuine anticipation. "Show us what you got." Danny positioned himself center stage, and as he waited for his music to begin, something shifted in his demeanor. The enthusiastic young man with Down syndrome was still there, but now he was also something else, a serious performer preparing to demonstrate his craft. The music began, an energetic hip-hop track with complex rhythms and demanding beats, and Danny began to move. What happened next challenged every assumption anyone in that theater had ever held about Down syndrome and physical capability. Danny didn't just dance. He commanded the stage with professional-level technique, complex choreography, and flawless timing. His movements were sharp, precise, and incredibly sophisticated, flowing from hip-hop isolations to contemporary extensions to jazz combinations with seamless transitions that would have impressed in any professional company. Simon's mouth fell open. This wasn't the simple, enthusiastic dancing he had expected. This was extraordinary technical skill combined with natural artistry and pure joy. As Danny continued his routine, executing moves that required incredible coordination, strength, and timing, the audience's response shifted from encouraging sympathy to genuine amazement. They were witnessing something remarkable, not a person with a disability doing their best, but an exceptional dancer who happened to have Down syndrome. Danny's performance included elements that challenged every stereotype: complex floor work that required significant upper body strength, intricate footwork that demanded precise coordination, and emotional expression that showed sophisticated understanding of music and movement. Sophia was leaning forward, completely absorbed by the technical excellence she was witnessing. Heidi was openly amazed, recognizing professional level skill when she saw it. Howie was unusually serious, understanding that his assumptions about intellectual disability were being completely rewritten. But it was Simon's reaction that was most profound. He was watching someone whose genetic condition had been completely irrelevant to their artistic abilities, someone who had developed extraordinary talent through dedication, practice, and pure love of their art. As Danny reached the climax of his routine, he executed a series of moves that would have been impressive for any dancer: spinning combinations, jump sequences, and freestyle elements that demonstrated not just technical skill, but creative interpretation and personal style. The final moment was perfect. Danny ended in a strong pose, breathing hard, but radiant with the satisfaction of someone who had just shared their greatest passion with the world. The silence that followed lasted only seconds before the theater erupted. 300-400 people rose to their feet in an ovation that was not about charity or inspiration, but about genuine recognition of exceptional talent. Danny looked out at the audience, his face glowing with pure joy, and took a proper performer's bow, confident, graceful, and completely deserved. When the applause finally subsided, Simon was the first to speak, his voice carrying amazement and something that sounded like an apology. "Danny," he said, standing up from his chair, "I need to tell you something. I came into this thinking I knew what to expect from someone with Down syndrome. You just proved that I didn't know anything." Danny listened intently, his expression serious, as he tried to understand Simon's meaning. "What you just did wasn't impressive for someone with Down syndrome. What you just did was impressive, period. That was professional level dancing by any standard." Danny's face lit up with understanding and pride. "Thank you. I work very hard to be a good dancer." "It shows," Simon continued. "Every move, every transition, every moment of that routine showed incredible skill, dedication, and artistry. You're not a good dancer despite having Down syndrome. You're just a good dancer." The audience erupted again, understanding the importance of Simon's distinction. Sophia stood up, visibly moved. "Danny, you just changed how I think about ability and disability. You showed us that talent has no limits, that dedication and passion matter more than any genetic condition." Heidi nodded enthusiastically. "That was some of the best dancing I've seen on this stage from anyone. Your technique, your joy, your performance quality, everything was exceptional." Howie, typically the comedian, was unusually serious. "Danny, you just taught me something important about assumptions. I'm sorry for thinking your Down syndrome would limit what you could do. You clearly haven't let it limit anything." Danny listened to each comment, his expression showing that he understood the significance of what they were saying. "Down syndrome doesn't stop me," he said simply. "I just different, not less. I love dancing, and I practice, and I get better, just like everyone else." Simon walked closer to the stage, his expression showing deep respect. "Danny Thompson, you have just given one of the most important performances in AGT history, not because of your disability, but because of your ability. You've shown everyone watching that talent exists in every form, that dedication and passion matter more than genetics, and that our assumptions about what people can achieve are often completely wrong." He paused, looking out at the audience and cameras. "But more than that, you've shown us what joy looks like, what authentic love for your art feels like, and what happens when someone refuses to let society's limitations become their own limitations." Simon walked to his golden buzzer with absolute conviction. "Danny Thompson, you receive my golden buzzer not as inspiration, but as recognition of exceptional talent, extraordinary dedication, and the kind of performance that reminds us all why we love art in the first place. Simon slammed his hand down on the golden buzzer. Golden confetti exploded from the ceiling, raining down on Danny, who looked up at it with pure delight and began dancing again. Right there in the falling gold, because that's what dancers do, they dance. Mary appeared from the wings, tears streaming down her face as she embraced her son. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "You showed them everything I've always known about you." "I did good dancing, Mom?" Danny asked, still glowing with excitement. "You did amazing dancing, sweetheart. You changed minds, you broke barriers, and you showed everyone that Down syndrome doesn't define limits." 3 months later, Danny Thompson won America's Got Talent, but more importantly, his victory sparked a global conversation about ability, representation, and the importance of looking beyond disability to see individual talent and potential. Dance schools across the country began actively recruiting students with Down syndrome and other intellectual disabilities. The Danny Thompson Foundation was established to provide dance education and performance opportunities for individuals with disabilities. His story became a case study in special education programs, demonstrating the importance of supporting individual strengths rather than focusing only on limitations. But perhaps the most important outcome was the change in how people viewed Down syndrome. Danny had proved that intellectual disability doesn't mean physical inability, that genetic conditions don't determine potential, and that some of the most beautiful art comes from those who approach it with pure joy rather than competitive pressure. The lesson Danny Thompson taught the world that night is simple but profound. Ability isn't defined by genetics. Talent exists in every form, and sometimes the most extraordinary performances come from those who dance, not to prove anything, but simply because they love to dance. Simon Cowell learned that judging talent means recognizing excellence, regardless of its packaging, that assumptions about disability are often completely wrong, and that some performers don't overcome their conditions, they succeed alongside them. And Danny proved that Down syndrome doesn't mean different abilities. It means different perspectives, different approaches, and sometimes different kinds of brilliance that make the world a more beautiful, more inclusive, more joyful place. The golden confetti from that night has been swept away, but the golden moment it represented, when stereotypes shattered, when talent transcended genetics, when one young man's joy reminded everyone that ability comes in all forms, continues to inspire, to educate, and to prove that the most important performances are often the ones that change how we see each other.